Welcome to season 7 of the I Don't Know, Let's Ask My Mom podcast. I'm your host and the daughter, Annika.
And I'm your coach and the mom, Karen.
And we are really switching things up this season. If you're here with us on YouTube, you can see this is the first season that we are filming every episode. So you can find every episode on YouTube, but you can also just find them as you normally would. But we are really excited
So no more closet episodes.
No more closet
We're sitting in my closet.
Yeah, for real. We're not going to be sitting in the closet anymore. And our legs are like cramping up. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
We're comfy this season.
We are also switching things up when it comes to our content. We are going to be sharing real life stories that we have either found on social media or stories that we have been sent by followers. And we're going to be getting a real life coach's perspective, aka Karen's perspective, on these stories and situations that we have received. Even just some motherly advice when it comes to some of these stories that we're hoping to get from you. So that's what this season's going to be. You can always feel free to send in your stories too. We love to read them, even if we're not going to share them here on the podcast. But you can always get advice from Karen. So that's kind of the goal this season, and I'm really excited about it. We're also going to be doing something called, we're geniuses, we came up with this ourselves. All by ourselves. It's called a Q-tip. It's our quote or tip of the day. Every episode, we're just going to start the episode with a quote or tip from Karen. If you follow my mom's Instagram, you know she finds the best quotes, shares the best quotes. I really wanted to start every episode with a quote or tip from you. It really will get us in the life coaching mood. And I think it'll be a fun way to start every episode. So why don't you talk about what our goal this is this season, and then hop into your Q-tip.
Okay, so our goal this season is, so in our past episodes on our podcast, we have been giving tools, a lot of mindfulness tools, life coaching tools. Now we want to take those tools and apply them to different scenarios, different stories that people are going through. And our goal is to show or prove that you can always be empowered, that you always have choices, you always have agency. And our goal is to take those tools that we've shown you in other episodes and apply them to actual real life stories. So Annika's going to bring the story. I probably won't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I still get to be human when I react.
Yes.
But then we're going to dig in to how we can use some of the tools that we've talked about and how this person can still be empowered and still have agency over their life, no matter what is happening in their circumstance.
I love it. It's hard.
I'm excited.
It's hard to believe that you can actually find empowerment in any situation. And that's really what we want to prove.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to believe that. It's hard to believe that.
Sometimes you just are like, no, they're doing that. And I just can't move past it. And now I'm stuck. And I don't get to do what I want. And it's not true.
We don't want you guys to be stuck. And we don't want you guys to feel unempowered, no matter what's happening in your life.
Yep.
So I'm really hoping we prove that this season.
We will.
Anyway, hop into your Q-tip.
Okay. Q-tip for the day is a post I did a long time ago, but it says your survival brain has the awareness and perspective of a child. So remember to supervise it today. And our survival brain, it has a purpose, right? It's keeping us safe, but it does not have a full perspective of you, your gifts, your what you want out of life. It just wants you to be safe and comfortable and happy every moment. And which is funny because it gives you fear trying to force you to be happy in every moment, right? But it's always seeking comfort. It always wants just what feels best right now. And doesn't that sound like a little kid?
Yeah.
Right? It's like when I recognize my survival brain, I have to remember it's like a little kid making my decisions for this whole day. Like, let's not go do that thing that's not very fun. Yeah, I don't want to, right? Like a little kid, or I want to eat that right now because I just want I don't know the end result. Little kids don't know the consequences. So I like to think of my survival brain as a little kid that's just with me all the time. So fun. I love little kids, but you're going to be in the back seat, in the car seat. You're not going to drive my car, right? Like I'm going to use my higher brain, which is sometimes called a parent brain, to keep you in check. Because if I did everything you were telling me to do, I would sabotage my whole day and I would sabotage my whole life because we don't grow in comfort and your survival brain wants it.
Yeah.
Right. And it wants dopamine and it wants instant gratification. And sometimes things that give us instant gratification don't add value to our lives. Sometimes it's delayed gratification that actually is going to add and give you the results you want, right? So the concept is your survival brain is a child, and you need to constantly be mothering it. You need to parent it. You need to keep it in check. And so I like to think of it as mothering your mind, right? Like keep an eye on it, just like you would a child. Don't let it get too far away.
Right.
Like take you too far away, and always babysit it, mother it.
I love it. Oh, that's so good. I am so excited to hear your Q-tip every day now. It's going to be so fun. That's a great one, though. And that's really...
Let's just hope I remember to plan one.
I'm going to have to do you have a Q-tip? I'm going to have a couple saved.
Yeah, you might have to have some backup.
Nobody wants to hear Annika's Q-tip of the day.
Sure we do.
Oh, I appreciate that. Let's jump into the first story of the season, okay?
I'm excited.
This is one that I found on TikTok, actually, and it is a text string that was posted, okay?
Okay.
Between a girl and her future mother-in-law.
Okay.
Okay? I think you already know where this is going to go. So let me read it, and then we'll discuss, okay?
Okay.
And you can have a human reaction if you want, but then we need life coaching, Karen.
Okay, I got to get out of my own... Okay.
This one's going to make you mad. Okay.
Okay.
This is from the daughter-in-law. She says, "Hi, Denise." That's the mother-in-law. "I'm reaching out to you to invite you to come wedding dress shopping. I would love it if you could come. When is it?" She responds.
Okay.
I think you'll get
Denise is
who's
answering.
talking.
Okay.
But Denise is answering. "When is it and who is going, ... We are going Saturday at 3. Going for brunch beforehand, and my mom, my sisters, and my 2 bridesmaids are coming." The mother-in-law responds, "That's only 5 days away, ... A bit rude to invite me so last minute, don't you think?" "It was a last-minute plan. They were able to squeeze me in unexpectedly." I guess I can make time for it if I have to. I will not be attending brunch. Not like I was invited to that anyway." "That's okay. We'll miss you at brunch, but I'm happy you will be there to find my dress. I'm so excited." "Don't get your hopes up there, dear, ... You probably won't find a dress on Saturday. Your style and larger measurements won't exactly be that easy to find." She says, "Well, either way, I'm sure it's going to be a great day. See you then." Okay. So.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, number 1. That's not real.
I knew you were going to say that.
That is not real.
It's a real text thread that was posted. Okay, it could be fake. You know what I mean? I don't actually know. It is on a TikTok
that. I am so sure.
Let's just go with the fact that it's real because I think this is real.
Okay, I don't think it's real because and I'm a Karen. So
shut up. Okay.
If I don't think it's real,
then that's crazy.
No one actually exists that says that to their future daughter-in-law.
We don't know all the details going into this. Like, we're literally just reading a small text thread. We don't know what's happened before. We don't know what their relationship is like. But I'm assuming this is a pretty toxic mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship. Okay.
Which hasn't even started yet. She's not even married yet.
Yes. Future daughter-in-law, future mother.
So I'm going to just look at this like it's real.
Okay.
But I just want to give a disclaimer that I don't think it is. Because that's...
She's a skeptic, guys.
Okay. Anyway, but let's coach like it is.
Okay.
Like let's look at it. So what are your... Yeah, like I want to know what you think. Because you're the daughter-in-law.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering if the daughter-in-law's response is actually good, to be honest, because she is... I'm just wondering if there's some people pleasing or anything like that. I mean, like, there's the one side where I feel like she's just really like, she understands who her mother-in-law is and she's like, okay, well, I'm just not going to let you affect me. And if it's coming from that place, I do like that. But then there's this other side where I'm like, I wouldn't want somebody that negative in my life coming to wedding dress shopping. I wouldn't want her to feel like she can treat me that way. You know what I mean? So there's these two sides where I'm like, what do you think? Do you think she's responding right? Because I kind of am annoyed and I wouldn't want to be responding.
So you're definitely putting yourself in the position of I don't want someone that toxic in my wedding dress shopping.
Yeah. Yeah.
I look at it as I am actually super impressed by the way this daughter-in-law is acting.
Okay.
I love every response. This is, to me, this is someone who knows who she wants to be, that knows that other people cannot make her feel a certain way or ruin her day.
Yeah.
It's like she has this, I picture it as someone who like meditates, right? Like I have this shield and you can't penetrate it with your negativity. And I am happy for you to come, but I'm not going to sit here and beg and explain myself. I love how everything was just nice and like, yep, it was a last minute plan. I'm so excited, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that I'm not lying, that I should have invited you 2 weeks. Like, it's like,
right.
this is the situation. Like I like how confident she's coming off, that I don't get any vibe that this daughter-in-law has like lying or sneaky or trying to leave her out.
Yeah.
At all. So that's funny. Like, I don't think there's any people pleasing. I think this girl just knows. Like, I think that I don't feel people pleasing, but also like this is her future mother-in-law. She wants to put her like start off on a good note. And like, I want my husband's mom to feel like she can come and help me find my dress. This could be very much about just, I want my husband to know that I am trying and I love his mom.
Okay.
Right. Like I don't think it's people pleasing based on what I am hearing.
Okay. Yeah.
People pleasing would also, like, I would think it would show up with like, oh gosh, I need to make sure she feels okay. And like that she feels like she doesn't feel the invitation is real. So I need to convince her it is.
Yeah.
No, she's definitely not taking responsibility for the mother-in-law's feeling.
No, that's very true.
So if I was her, I wish I could show up like that.
Yeah.
Not confident that I could, but I wish that I could be that confident and also just know who I am and who I want to be in this situation.
Wow. Okay, good. Because that was my question, was like, is this good? Is this that she's responding from this way, or is she like hiding her feelings?
Like again, and we don't know. Yeah. But based on what I'm hearing, based on what she's saying and taking it at face value,
she's just showing
I'm like
the way
really impressed, honestly.
Yeah. That's very, very true. I'm getting the vibe that this mother-in-law is a little victim.
I thought the same word. I was thinking about PQ.
Yeah.
And in her responses, I'm like, yep, she would test as a victim.
Yeah.
She's always looking for how someone's going to mess her over.
Yeah.
She's always looking for a way that someone's going to take from her.
So
she is a victim.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Which we all fall into that. I mean, right. I don't mean that as like a label, but her brain wants her to always be on the lookout for how someone's going to victimize you.
Yeah. No, I definitely.
So she has trust issues for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're coaching the daughter here because it's from the daughter's perspective. So is there advice or is there something that you would tell her?
I feel like you've got this.
Yeah, like you're doing great.
Yeah. I love that you are like I feel like if anyone, like you're such a good example of like, I don't need to you could be a victim too. And then what would the situation look like?
Yeah.
Right? Like you be not including her in anything. And now we have this huge wedge at the beginning of a marriage, which is already hard enough.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like, you are like, I'm not adding to any of the drama. You are invited. I would love to have you there. I'm going to still be excited, but I'm not going to manage you or your emotions because this is my wedding and I'm going to be all in for myself.
Oh, I love it.
So I don't know.
Good job.
I would love to coach the mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Love to coach her.
Yeah.
Because this is so sad. This is setting the tone for a life and your future relationship with your son, your future relationship with your grandkids. Yeah. And so it's not looking good on her part. I would love to coach her and help her get out of this. Like it's to the point where like it's obvious to me she's in a lot of fear. Like I actually feel really bad for her. She's very fearful. Because she wouldn't fight so hard and be so toxic if something wasn't really important.
Yeah.
So she's scared. She's scared she's going to lose something here.
Oh.
And she's scared that someone's going to hurt her. So she's going to hurt first. There's some worthiness issues there. Or maybe some fears of this daughter-in-law is eventually going to see what I'm like and she's going to not like me anyway. I might as well just get it over with type.
Yeah.
That's so survival brain.
Yeah.
So black and white. And so I like, first I'm like, when you first read it, I was like, oh my gosh, like she's so scary. But like, as a coach, I know that there's just a lot of fear that she's experiencing.
Yeah.
So I would love to talk to her.
leave it to you to like change my opinion about something and be like, oh yeah, I feel bad for the mother-in-law now. Whereas before I'm like so annoyed by her.
Yeah, because when you're in a loving place, you give loving actions, right? Your thoughts are loving, then you are going to feel love and you are going to act in a loving way. So her thoughts are showing up.
Yeah.
And they're her thoughts, not her daughter-in-law causing it, right? Her daughter-in-law is her circumstance.
Right.
So I think this person maybe has been hurt before.
Yeah, I agree. As I was just looking for stories this season, I'm not going to lie, a lot came up about mother-in-laws or the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship, like both sides, you know what I mean? And I think there can be a lot of like, just from what I'm reading and what I'm looking up, a lot of like toxic energy there. And, you know, luckily both of us don't really struggle with that. We don't have to worry about that. But like reading it, I feel for these girls or these mother-in-laws that are dealing with like kind of mean daughter-in-laws. There were so many stories, Mom. Like I was like,
I've actually seen some accounts, like a daughter-in-law account, kind of calling out the mother-in-law for like the toxic behavior. But the way the daughter-in-law does it is toxic.
yeah,
It's like, it's great that you're pointing out these things, but the way you're doing it is so mean-spirited.
right.
And that's what I'm so impressed by this daughter-in-law is like, I feel like she's responding in a way that she can always feel good about herself. I'm always loving.
Yeah.
If she doesn't want to feel the love that I'm offering, that's up to her.
Right.
And not taking responsibility. This Instagram that I found, the daughter-in-law is so mean and just so holier than thou and just calls out the mother-in-law. And it's just like, that's nice to be able to like point out like this, like behavior that isn't working, but to do it in such a mean way is not going to you're not going to get a good response. It's not like your mother-in-law is going to see how she's, do you know what I'm saying? Like
I know exactly.
When someone's coming at you and calling you out with like this meanness, it's not like you want to change. If anything, you just add to like the toxicity because you're defensive now.
Yeah.
So it's just the daughter-in-law is trying, I mean, I'm sure the concept is like, I just want people to feel like I get it. Like I'm, you know, like I want you to feel like I understand how it is to have a toxic mother-in-law. But like, if you're not actually helping the situation by the way you're coming at her.
Yeah. And, you know, I just think it can be toxic. You know what I mean? And I guess just kind of like closing out our first episode, I want to ask, because I don't want every episode to be based on mother-in-laws or daughter-in-laws. We could literally
our theme.
We could literally do that if we wanted to. That's how many crazy stories there are. You know what I mean? But let's just close out this mother-daughter-in-law thing. I want to ask, as a life coach, what advice would you give a mother-in-law? What advice would you give a daughter-in-law when it comes to this relationship? I've seen beautiful mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationships. You know what I mean? But also reading these negative ones, what advice would you give to both sides?
Okay. And I just want to like disclaimer, I've only been a mother-in-law for like a year. So I don't know. I'm figuring it out myself.
Right.
But as a life coach, this would be the advice that I would give is for the mother-in-laws. It would be, it's not about you. To accept, and it's hard. Like,
yeah.
Right? Like, but you have to accept that your motherhood is changing. That your son doesn't need you or your daughter doesn't need you like they did before. Mm-hmm. That the goal of parenting is for your kids to not need you, to be able to go out into the world and create their own lives. But you're back here in the corner with support.
Yeah.
So like this is what I'm trying to do is I don't want to be involved. I want you to I don't want to be part of it. I want you guys to depend on each other and just to feel support. If there's a question, you can come to me. I may or may not, you know, depending on how I feel, give advice. But it's hard. It's hard. Like I will say it's hard because you have taken care of this child all its life and it has been your responsibility. Right. And so I think the number one advice is just accept that motherhood is now different, that you're a supportive role. You're not a main role anymore.
Yeah.
And you want it that way. You want them to be as strong and depend on each other. And, you know, like a couple things that I've told you is like, before you even were engaged, right? Like just, I don't want you to ever tell me anything negative about your spouse. because you're going to move on and you're going to forget about it and you're going to forgive. Like, moms don't.
Right.
Right. Like, I'll remember that forever. And it's just like, even though you're an adult, I'm still a protective mama bear.
Right.
Right. So I think that would probably be more advice for the daughter or the son, is just to not share personal things about your spouse to your parents.
Yeah.
Because you're going to move on. You guys are going to work through it. You're going to be able to forgive and like learn through it. But like, your mother-in-law is not going to see all that, or your mom isn't going to see all that, or your dad. We're just going to remember that they did this thing.
Right. Which makes sense.
So that's more advice for them.
Okay.
But for the mother-in-law, it would be just remember, you want to be a supportive role. You're not a main. This isn't about you. And I think also just kind of go back to when you were the daughter-in-law. Mm-hmm. What did you need? What did you want? I feel like some people, like, I don't need another mom.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need another mom. And maybe pushing that you're the new mom onto them might feel a little much. And maybe you just let your relationship with that in-law develop naturally instead of just pushing too hard to be close. Okay, so just to finish off with the mother-in-law, my advice would be, don't give advice unless it's asked for. And even if it's asked for, be very careful.
Right.
Okay. And then also, when I have coached mother-in-law issues, or the mother-in-law, one thing that I've just kind of noticed is sometimes when there is struggle is because that mother put a lot of effort into building this relationship with this child that's now getting married. Mm-hmm. And so it's a little harder to let go, right? Because you now are kind of dependent on that kid for support. And so my advice would be to strengthen other relationships as your kids start getting older. It's strengthen maybe your relationship with your husband or your significant other, your other family, other friends, so that when your child is ready to move on and start their own life, that you're not so dependent on that child for your emotional needs, that you have other resources, so that the whole transition goes a little bit better and you're able to like not be so tied emotionally to that child that you have no one else to depend on.
Yeah.
So build other relationships in your life.
Good. I love that. And then anything when it comes to daughter-in-law, son-in-law.
So I feel like where there's daughter-in-law that struggle with mother-in-laws, I feel like what usually happens is you people pleased at the beginning of your relationship with your mother-in-law, because you wanted to look good. You wanted there not to be any weird feelings. So you kind of might try to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on and you start having kids, people still expect you to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's be aware of people pleasing at the beginning. If there's something that you want to talk about, have that conversation with your spouse, right? Like, if something doesn't feel right, talk about it. Don't just put up with things that don't feel right to you, because then later this in-law family thinks you're just going to always do what they want you to do,
or what you've always done.
Yeah. So just be aware.
Makes
and like
sense.
be really aware, like, hey, my parents want us to do this. Like, be aware. Why am I doing this? Do I like my reasons?
Yeah.
Because again, like, I feel like what happens with on the daughter-in-law side is just resentment.
I see.
There is also this word called kin keeping, and that's referring to the work and the energy that we put out to extended family to build relationships with our kin, with our extended family.
Oh, okay.
And I think that we're coming out of this generation is coming out of this, the wife is in charge of the kin keeping. The wife is in charge of all the birthdays.
Yeah.
And the wife is in charge of making sure all the relationships with the extended family is good. This is why daughter-in-laws struggle.
Yeah.
And I think that there's awareness to this now. And that my advice is, even though like at the beginning of your marriage, it's so fun. It's so fun to be like, what should we get your dad for his birthday and Mother's Day and Father's Day? And I'm going to go get cards for our dads. I think my advice would be, let your husband do the kin keeping for his side. Let your husband send the gifts, write the card, decide, you can work together on like ideas for like gifts or whatever, but let it go through. Like, don't do his work for him, because then the parents kind of expect you, right, to do it all the time. And then it's a lot. And then you're going to resent. Because let's be honest, they're not your parents. You don't have the same emotional connection that you do with your own parents. So it's more appropriate for him to do it, who has that deeper emotional connection with his parents.
And it also, like, just hearing what you're saying, it also gives maybe the husband more of an opportunity to actually keep those relationships going.
Yeah. Because, that's why kind of the daughter-in-law will get blamed because something didn't happen. That's because you were doing it all. So if something doesn't happen, the mother-in-law and the father-in-law might blame you because it's your job. So make sure in the beginning it's not your job.
I get that.
So I think it's a good idea to have the husband take care of his own parents and you take care of your parents. And I had shared with you the advice of being ambassadors.
I know. And I loved that.
And I think I heard that years ago. Like you guys were little on Dr. Phil once. And it really changed, like, it really helped me. Because it's so, like I said, it's so fun at the beginning to do all the things. Mm-hmm. Now I had 3 kids.
Right.
And the stress of you don't know your father-in-law like your husband does. I don't know what to get him. Why is this on me?
Yeah.
But it's because you did it. You know what I mean? You need to share the responsibility with your husband at the beginning.
Yeah.
So that it's obvious that that's how this is going to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, ambassador to your family is whenever, obviously you can have a great relationship with your mother-in-law and text and go to lunch and all the great things.
Right.
But when it comes to decisions about a family reunion, a family event, if you're going to be attending a family trip, anything that you need to report back to your family, that needs to be done by the husband to his family, the wife to her family.
Right.
You're the ambassador. You guys in your family making the decision, are we going to be able to go on this trip? How is this going to work? And then you communicate it to your own parents.
Makes sense. Definitely.
Because otherwise then it looks like if you reported back for your husband that we're not going to be able to go this year because blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh, she won't let him go.
It
starts looking like you're controlling your spouse.
Right.
And not necessarily that, but also just responsibility wise and the load of kin keeping wise. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to each share in the responsibility of nourishing the relationships outside of the marriage.
Yeah. And I feel like also it's maybe less of a load to the person whose family it actually is.
Because you know your own family.
Because you know your own, and you love them and you want to actually do those things for them, And the other spouse may want to too. And that's why I love how you say, you can help each other. You can bounce ideas off each other. You can help
shop together.
Yeah, whatever.
But have a husband mail it. Have the husband address the car. Have him do his own work.
It's just more on the person whose family it is. And I like it.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. It avoids those feelings that you were talking about.
And to be honest too, your husband knows how to say things to his parents in a way that because we know them forever.
Right.
You might not know how to say it in a way that they would be able to. Does that make sense? I know how to break news to my mom.
Yeah.
Steve might not, or my husband might not know how to break news.
Right.
Or whatever.
It just makes sense.
The communication is just better coming from their child.
I think that's really good. I think that's great advice. You know what I mean? And some people don't struggle with this at all. And it's great. I know there's a lot of people that do. So I hope that can help people. You know what I mean? And just kind of give people the idea that, okay, it's not all on one person.
Yeah.
And it's we can make this such a fun, easy relationship. It doesn't have to be so hard.
Yeah.
But there's things you could maybe have to do.
Yeah. And I think the accounts that we're seeing, I think healthy boundaries for the daughter-in-law is so important. But I feel like the accounts I'm seeing, it's not healthy boundaries. It's walls. It's toxic walls of keeping their in-laws out because they're so scared it's going to fall into something negative. So healthy boundaries and no people pleasing.
Love it. Good advice. I love it so much. Okay, thank you guys for joining episode 1. We are so excited about this season. If you're here with us on YouTube, feel free to subscribe, sign up for notifications so you can see when we post a new episode. You can find us on Instagram or TikTok at IDK Let's Ask My Mom. And you can find my mom on Instagram, KarenEdwards.coaching. And if you ever have a story you want to share with us, you need advice from Karen, send it in via email, DM us. We love to hear your stories and even sometimes share them on here. So we love you guys. And always remember
to mother your mind.